Artificial intelligence is all the rage. The various platforms supporting AI contain abundant information. However, AI is a product of human knowledge and intellect. As a result, AI is constrained by human knowledge and human intelligence. Now you know why I have been referring to AI as arrogant idiot for many years. I'm sure AI has its place. For those seeking the ability to collate abundant information, I suspect AI will be valuable. Organizing the information might also prove to be a good task for AI. Because most of my work during the last decade and a half has depended on my ability to collate and organize the work of other scholars, it seems AI could be useful. On the other hand, I have become quite adept at collating and organizing information myself, a process that began when I was a graduate student. My grad school days were characterized by considerably less modern technology than we have today. There was no AI, at least not in the public domain. I typed my master's thesis on the campus's mainframe computer. Each draft would require time to print, and the printer was a 5-minute walk from my shared office. As a result, I carefully reviewed each draft after it laboriously took time to print. Fast forward a few years, and I was writing my PhD dissertation on a personal computer. It was not a laptop, but I only had to walk a few hundred meters to gain access to a computer and printer at the nearby library. I retained the information on a 5¼ floppy disk. Within a year or so, the disk was replaced with a sturdier 3½ version. One of my graduate advisors told me several times that I needed to retain my data on cards and on film. These were the primary sources of data retention back in the 1980s. I took his advice and hauled thousands of punched cards and an 18-inch reel of film from Lubbock, Texas to Athens, Georgia, and then to College Station, Texas. Not long after I hauled these valuable stacks of cards and the reel of film to Tucson, Arizona, I asked the campus tech dude how I could transfer them to more contemporary forms of data collection. After a long conversation filled with him asking me for clarification, the campus tech dude concluded I was trapped in a previous century. The Research One institution had no way to read data from punched cards or 18-inch reels of film. So much for my graduate advisor and his advice. Fast forward a few decades after I studiously kept track of that seemingly valuable data from my work as a graduate student. Retaining data has become a much bigger job. Not only are scientists dealing with much larger data sets, but the ability to store those data has become expensive. In addition, we now realize that the electrical demand produced by AI is enormous. The difficulty is described in a peer-reviewed paper. From Frontiers of Environmental Science and Engineering on October 20th, 2024, comes an overview of the environmental consequences of AI. The peer-reviewed article was written by 7 scholars entitled Revisit the Environmental Impact of Artificial Intelligence, Overlooked Carbon Emission Source? The peer-reviewed paper is not open access. My emeritus status allows me to read it. I can assure you that the abstract contains all the relevant information in this paper, which is barely more than 4 pages long. Quote, the boosting development of artificial intelligence is contributing to rapid exponential surge of computing power demand, which results in the concerns on the increased energy consumption and carbon emission. To highlight the environmental impact of AI, a quantified analysis on the carbon emission associated with AI systems was conducted in this study, with the hope of offering guidelines for policy makers to set up emission limits or studies interested in this issue and beyond. It has been discovered that both industry and academia play pivotal roles in driving AI development forward. The carbon emissions from 79 prominent AI systems released between 2020 and 2024 were quantified. The projected total carbon footprint from the AI systems in the top 20 of carbon emissions could reach up to 102.6 megatons of carbon dioxide equivalent each year. This could potentially have a substantial impact on the environmental market, exceeding $10 billion annually, especially considering potential carbon penalties in the near future. Hence, it is appealed to take proactive measures to develop quantitative analysis methodologies and establish appropriate standards for measuring carbon emissions associated with AI systems. Emission cap is also crucial to drive the industry to adopt more environmentally friendly practices and technologies in order to build a more sustainable future for AI. End quote. AI seems to be a classic case of trade-offs between individuals and society. The vast majority of us would like somebody else to do the work on our behalf. AI seems to offer that potential. As with many other advances in technology, I suspect AI offers more than it can deliver. Scholarship demands that we do the work of critically gathering, collating, and organizing information. We recently saw how AI was blindly used to indiscriminately assign trade tariffs on islands occupied only by penguins. Critical thinking must be part of the process of reaching conclusions. Counting on AI to complete this step is not a good idea.